Hello guys, welcome back to our anime moments. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Absolute Resonance Part 18 based on novel. So let's start. When the three walked out of the tree-covered hall, the scenery before them changed drastically. It was a sinister, gloomy forest with huge trees that stood tall. The dark branches were dense enough to hide the sky and gave one a foreboding feeling. Li Luo and the others looked around them and very quickly spotted a crystal wall before them. This was clearly new. Faintly glowing words flowed across the crystal wall. When they read it, their faces turned serious. This stage is about harvesting spectral face fruits. A special type of plant known as the spectral face demon ivy grew in the dark forest. It had an aggressive, violent nature and loved to strangle any life form that drew near to it. It would bury the corpse in its roots and feed on the meat to nourish itself. After a spectral face demon ivy matured, it would bear a spectral face fruit. The goal of the second round was to gain a spectral face fruit. Those who obtained one would be awarded with foundational points. The spectral face demon ivy is not easy to deal with. The demon ivy is covered with poisonous thorns and is a vicious foe. Realistically speaking, even an 8th grade resonance user would be hard-pressed to take a spectral face fruit alone, Jiang Qing'e said worriedly. On the verge of slipping away, Loulan froze mid-step. I suggest the three of us join hands and get spectral face fruits. What do you say? You looked on the verge of taking off. Don't let us stop you, Li Luo snorted. A little embarrassed, Loulan denied it. Impossible. We have just been through life and death together. Li Luo shook his head. This weasel was hard to trust. However, he did not reject Loulan's suggestion. Although he might not be able to get a spectral face fruit himself, having more people might help. If many hands made lighter work, why not? Let's go, Li Luo said. He led the way deeper into the dark forest, with Loulan and Jiang Qing'e following close behind. The three walked on deeper into the forest. Several dozen minutes later, they heard a disturbance far away to the right. The three looked around at each other and then headed forward with tacit understanding. Parting the shrubbery, they saw that there was a large, black tree in a muddy patch just ahead. A black vine was coiled around the tree, bristling with black thorns. It thrashed and whipped around like a shadowy python, with enough force to produce a whistling sound. The visage of a sinister face could be vaguely made out on the rough bark of the coarse trunk. It made them uneasy. A spectral face demon ivy. However, there were already about 6 or 7 figures around it. Clearly, they had joined forces against it. Jets of resonant power flew through the air as they battled the spectral face demon ivy. The demon ivy was giving as good as it was getting. The poisonous vines whipped out again and again with terrifying strength, and they were frequently rewarded with miserable yelps. A sorry sight. Loulan stared at them. These people were only around the 6th seal stage. Even with numbers, they were still outclassed by the demon ivy. Each time the tendrils hit them, the sickening, whip-like crack sent prickles of fear down their scalps just from listening. This sound brought back memories of the stick their parents used to beat them with. In just a short amount of time, the group was badly wounded and fled in a wretched state. Luckily, the attack range of the demon ivy was limited, otherwise, they would have been screwed. The trio shook their heads after witnessing the bad trumping. Quite a thorny problem, eh? Jiang Qing'e said worriedly. Although they were stronger than the previous group, it was still not going to be easy to bypass the frenzied and spiky defense to get the spectral face fruit. Loulan, you go test it out, Li Luo said after a moment's thought. Loulan pulled a long face. What? Why me? You're a wind resonance user. You're the fastest. Who else? Li Luo snorted. Lacking a good response, Loulan grumbled and trudged forth. His green resonant power surging forth to bathe his body, he shot forth like a blur, blowing gusts out behind him. OOF. Truly the fastest man in South Wind Academy, Jiang Qing'e hooted with surprise. Li Luo stared at the figure ahead, blurry from his speed. The guy was indeed fast. And it was clear that he had devoted much effort to cultivating speed, a shrewd decision. SSHHH? As Yu Lang rapidly approached, the demon ivy sensed an incoming presence, and the serpent-like vines began to respond. He dodged adroitly, but the closer he got, the more vines were turned on him, as though the demon ivy sensed the threat growing larger. Yu Lang's speed slowed in the face of the harassment, his swagger disappearing. Finally, he chose to retreat. With a flash, he was safely out of its attack radius, back beside Li Luo and Jiang Qing'e. It's hopeless. I can't even get close, let alone get the spectral face fruit. Yu Lang was panting and wiping the sweat pouring from his face. On the contrary, I think it's pretty achievable. Li Luo smiled smugly. Yu Lang's speed had already pushed the spectral face demon ivy to the limits of its attack rate. Next, we will attack together. Jiang Qing'e, up front to tank. I'll support him to suppress the frontal attack of the demon ivy. You go in from the flank to get the fruit. This means that Jiang Qing'e is going to get it real bad. Jiang Qing'e gave a wry smile. Don't worry. I'm all tough skin and hard bones. Li Luo nodded in appreciative acknowledgement. Since they were working together, they had to each bring their individual strengths to bear. He was not going to let Jiang Qing'e get by without pulling his weight just because he was a friend. Neither would Jiang Qing'e accept that sort of favoritism. All right. Yu Lang had even less of an opinion. Their simple battle plan laid out, the three did not waste any more time. Li Luo pulled out his two short swords, and Jiang Qing'e loosened the axe off his back. Go! At Li Luo's whispered command, Jiang Qing'e roared and charged, his powerful frame rampaging towards the demon ivy. A faint glimmer of silver resonant power covered him. When activated, his silver bear resonance made his body even more durable and expanded it by a significant margin. Whang! The demon ivy responded promptly, its tendrils snaking out lightning quick, whistling through the air with their speed. Jiang Qing'e's giant axe swept in beautiful arcs, a whirling storm that cut down all the vines hurtling towards him. Jade green liquid spurted everywhere after each swing. Suddenly, the mud below him exploded and vines burst from the ground, binding Jiang Qing'e's lower torso. Almost immediately, a slash of blue light cut them apart. Close behind Jiang Qing'e's muscular frame was Li Luo, wreathed in his own blue resonant power. His two swords never paused, constantly seeking out the next vine trying to tie down Jiang Qing'e. The two steadily drew closer to the demon ivy. But the closer they got, the more violent the demon ivy became. More and more vines stretched towards them, each one whipped up into a desperate frenzy. Li Luo tried his best to cut them down, but some of the vines still managed to lash themselves around Jiang Qing'e. He gritted his teeth, uttering not a single sound as deep and bloody streaks appeared on his flesh. He pushed forward. Another step. And another. Yu Lang, go! Judging the moment, Li Luo yelled out to their flank. All right. Already waiting on the sidelines, Yu Lang shot forth upon hearing the command. His speed pushed to its maximum, he pounced toward the spectral face fruit in a flash while the demon ivy was preoccupied with the pair's attacks. Yu Lang was extremely fast. He was close to the spectral face fruit in the blink of an eye. But just as he stretched out a hand to grab it, the soil at his feet exploded. A mysterious stranger shot forth, intent on beating Yu Lang to the fruit. Fuck! Yu Lang's face tightened as he swore. Someone had been waiting to swoop in. Yu Lang stared, eyes wide, as his prize was on the verge of being stolen from right under his nose. Nearby, Li Luo bellowed, Yu Lang, shut your eyes. He lifted his hand, his face grim. A blue ball of light formed on his fingertip and shot forth. The blue light ball exploded near Yu Lang and the intruder, shrouding them in an explosion of dazzling light. Hearing Li Luo's shout startled Yu Lang. Closing his eyes would put him in an even more vulnerable state than he already was, with the intruder in his face. But given his understanding of Li Luo, he set his jaw and shut his eyes. As the dazzling light burst out, Yu Lang avoided the blinding effect. Based on his last mental picture, he reached out a hand for the spectral face fruit. However, the intruder caught the flash full on. Their eyes burned, and they could not help but recoil away. The bright light vanished in an instant. The spectral face fruit was in Yu Lang's hand. His face hard, he pulled out a stiletto from his sleeve and charged it with green resonant power before giving it a merciless flick towards the scrabbling figure. HMPH. Understanding that they had lost, the intruder scoffed and punched out. Yellow resonant power boomed out, clashing fiercely against Yu Lang's attack. The resonant powers exploded against each other. The intruder was only slightly shaken, whereas Yu Lang was sent flying back, sprawling on the ground nearby. The moment Yu Lang grabbed it, Li Luo and Jiao Qing'e fled from the demon Ivy's attack radius. They barreled over to Yu Lang's side, staring down the shadow ahead. "Keek, quick movements. Can't believe I didn't snatch that." The stranger laughed casually. They could make out that it was a tall, broad-shouldered youth, with a head of short hair. His well-sculpted body announced his barbaric strength. It was an intimidating physique. Eastpool Academy? Jiao Qing'e spotted the crystal medallion on their adversary's chest. The school logo was Eastpool's. Eastpool Academy's Lian Zhong. His second in Eastpool, 6th grade Earth Resonance, 8th Seal, Yu Lang immediately recited. Thanks to his compilation and research, he was very familiar with the elite students from the major schools. Li Luo's face was rather neutral. Eastpool kids just love to steal stuff, huh? Sounds like a problematic teaching philosophy, if you ask me. The rules don't say anything about stealing, Lian Zhong replied with a cheeky grin. Indeed. A hit to your pride though, for sure. You were burrowed for such a long time like a little mole, but you still ended up empty-pawed. Frustrated? Li Luo mocked. The cheekiness on Lian Zhong's face evaporated. He had indeed laid in ambush for a long time. He was so sure that he had it in the bag, and had even prepared a few choice taunts. But Li Luo had reacted very quickly to turn the tables on him. Li Luo, I've underestimated you. Lian Zhong's eyes were on him now. He laughed it off. But this is nothing. No need to get all cocky. You mean you have your eye on me now? Can't be helped. Boss sent the word out that he's too busy to deal with you, so he asked us to amuse you, Lian Zhong said with a sardonic smile. Shuhuang? Li Luo probed. Not much point in fighting here. There's no points to gain from it. After this stage though, I'll come find you when the eliminations start, Lian Zhong said. His eyes swept across Jiao Qing'e and Yu Lang. If you two know which way the wind's blowing, stay away from him. Boss has ordered all Eastpool students to target him. There's nothing but trouble by his side. Your mom's ass. Jiao Qing'e glared back at him. Can't wait for you Eastpool mongrels to come and deliver us 3 points on a plate. Yu Lang waggled the stiletto in his hand and said in a serious tone, Li Luo and I are bonded in life and death, we go as deep as the sea. I'll never leave him, unless you have money. Boring. As you wish. Lian Zhong shook his head and left, vanishing into the dark forest. Hey, at least give me a sum to work with. We can negotiate. Yu Lang called out hurriedly. He was on the verge of chasing, but Li Luo held him back. No point tangling with him here. Can't get his points either. Damn, that was unreasonable, Yu Lang fumed. They were unsure if he was angry about the ambush, or the lack of an asking price. Jiao Qing'e turned to Li Luo with a worried expression. Brother Luo, if the Eastpool kids are really after you, let's go assemble a team of our own. If they did not bring their own forces, they would be overwhelmed. No rush. Let's see how it goes. Li Luo still looked composed. Clearly, Shi Huang was still not taking him seriously, sending lackeys like Lian Zhong. But if that's how he wanted it, it was going to be like attacking dogs with meat buns, all give and no take. Wait, that wasn't right. He wasn't a dog. Well, our spoils. Yu Lang held out the spectral face fruit. Give it to Jiao Qing'e first. He tanked the most. Li Luo laughed. Jiao Qing'e was still covered in bloody lacerations, a woeful sight. But the wounds were all physical, and his sturdy constitution would soon put those to right. Jiao Qing'e did not comment, reaching out a hand to take the spectral face fruit. Anyway, he was going to help Li Luo and Yu Lang get their own spectral face fruits. He tore the spectral face fruit apart with his hands, taking out the core within. He squeezed it until a drop of green liquid fell onto the crystal medallion on his chest and was absorbed. The points on his crystal medallion immediately jumped to 100. Let's go. Second fruit, Li Luo said. The two continued on. In the next hour, the three managed to find 2 more demon ivies. Repeating their tactic, they were able to get 2 more spectral face fruits unmolested. Both Li Luo and Yu Lang reached 100 points as well. Now that they were all done with the task, there was no point in getting any more fruits. The three immediately headed for the third elimination round without delay. Foot of White Spirit Mountain. The crystal wall was constantly shimmering with updates. Many were watching the clips with great interest. The top of the board was filled with full mark rankers, a whopping 200 points. Of course, it included the likes of Lu Qing'e and Shi Huang. There had been 2 particularly sensational clips featured on the crystal wall. First was Lu Qing'e. She was standing casually on top of a spectral face demon ivy, the frustrating vines completely encased in ice. Her long hair flying free, that lithe body and alluring face, the scene was a declaration of the South Wind valedictorian's charms. The second scene was Shi Huang, a smile on his face and a fruit in hand. Behind him, the demon ivy was black and smoking, still sizzling with electricity. These two had beaten their respective demon ivies with pure strength to take their spectral face fruits. A worthy score, and support for them increased. Everyone understood that the first place title was probably between these two now. Xia Wei and Yang Lingqing were not too interested in these two. Their eyes were fixed on the lower half of the board. When they saw Li Luo's points jump to 100, they finally sighed with relief. Although this was just for a foundational score, 2 zeros for Li Luo would have been a fiasco. As more students got their spectral face fruits in their own ways, the mood was starting to pick up here. Everyone knew that these preliminaries were just an appetizer. These foundational scores were for the elimination match. Therefore, the exam would only truly be underway when the elimination started. Inside White Spirit Mountain, Li Luo, Yu Lang, and Zhao Kui walked out of the gloomy forest. A river appeared before them, and on the opposite bank, there was a complicated terrain of hills and valleys, well furnished with large forests and rocks. They shared a look. Across the river, the elimination arena. They did not hesitate, using their resonant powers to cross the broad expanse of the river. They touched down on the other side, signaling the beginning of the elimination. When the three passed the river and set foot on the other side, they saw a few others nearby. However, the two parties made eye contact and then they mutually split away, moving swiftly into the complicated terrain. Li Luo and his friends plunged into a dense forest, with birdsongs coming from the mountains around. Their faces were all serious. "What are your plans?" Li Luo asked Zhao Kui and Yu Lang. Zhao Kui smiled. "I initially thought I would get some points first in the elimination round. But now I think I'll stick to you." "Because of Lian Zhong?" Li Luo said, "There's no need for that. I'm not too worried. Brother Luo, you can handle yourself, no doubt. Of course I know you're not afraid of him. I'm just worried they're going to bring a whole gang against you. Although I'm not as strong as you, perhaps I could share some of the load if it comes to it," Zhao Kui said. And then he cracked a bigger smile. "Plus, points are going to come faster with Brother Luo, eh?" Li Luo smiled back. He knew that Zhao Kui was looking out for him for the most part, but he did not pursue the matter further. He nodded to Zhao Kui. "And you?" He turned to Yu Lang. Yu Lang fiddled with his fringe, then said soberly, "You know what I'm capable of. I can slip through the ranks of this competition like a fish through water. If you are willing to hire me at a high price, I can give you a discount on behalf of our friendship. Just 1,000 sky gold, hey." Before he could finish, Li Luo and Zhao Kui had already walked on, leaving him behind. Yu Lang panicked. 500 sky gold. Li Luo still ignored him. Yu Lang burst out, "If you're not happy with the price, counteroffer, damn it. Some respect, please. I wonder which school you learned those disagreeable manners from. 5 sky gold. Li Luo sketched a careless wave with his left hand. Deal. Li Luo almost sprained his back laughing. Scum, you're really scum. Yu Lang said loftily, if you dare to ask, I dare to respond. Li Luo, you think you can shame me with 5 sky gold? How naive. Li Luo shook his head, but the humor was still in his eyes. He knew that both Jiao Qi and Yu Lang were truly worried that he was Eastpool Academy's target and that they had chosen to follow and protect him. Despite their vastly different personalities, both were good friends worth keeping. I have an idea, Yu Lang suddenly said. We are too obvious if we move as a trio. I think we should send Jiao Qi ahead alone. Li Luo will use water shadow art to hide the 2 of us following behind. Li Luo caught on. Fishing? The bait was going to be Jiao Qi, a stolid, honest guy that would catch the eye of every dirty player. They were going to swarm all over him for his points. Good idea. Jiao Qi chuckled, screwing his face up in an attempt at panicked horror, as though he was properly terrified. Jiao Qi, your acting skills are wasted at Southwind Academy, man. Yu Lang stared at him, mouth wide. Jiao Qi gave him an impertinent bob of the head back in response. Settled, then, Li Luo decided. The 3-man fishing team was formed. Deep in the forest, the dappled sunlight filtered through the dense canopy. A meek figure skulked through the trees, his eyes darting about constantly. He was the very picture of caution. Occasionally, he would melt back into the shadows and observe for a while before proceeding again. Truly a meek and scared person. Behind this cringing figure, Li Luo and Yu Lang stood in the shadows, well hidden. They were lost for words at Jiao Qi's immersive acting. This man's completely in character now, Yu Lang marveled. He thought his own acting skills were quite something, but now he saw that Jiao Qi was a fellow thespian indeed. Li Luo nodded fervently. He felt that Jiao Qi indeed had potential. He put a lot of care into the details. But the others are cautious too. Li Luo looked at one particular shadow. He had discovered some time ago that there were 2 people watching Jiao Qi, although they had not made their move. Instead, they had been tailing and observing Jiao Qi him too. Clearly, they were trying to ascertain if Jiao Qi's caution was for real. Both had tested Jiao Qi out many times already, but Li Luo's camouflage still held. Unbeknownst to them, they were the ones being hunted. Li Luo could sense that their patience was waning. Jiao Qi's acting was extremely natural. He had them hook, line, and sinker. Just as Li Luo flirted with the idea of a proactive action, the leaves rustled and 2 shadows streaked forward, landing in front and behind Jiao Qi, neatly trapping him. Jiao Qi paled. He shouted, "What are you trying to do? I'm from Southwind Academy. You dare to test me?" His performance was world-class. Li Luo and Yu Lang lapped it up from their front-row seats. The 2 who had appeared were from 2 different schools. They were not at all weak, both 7th Seal stage cultivators. Man, we followed you for so long. You're Jiao Qi from Southwind Academy, aren't you? I saw you in the examination intel. Cut the crap. Hand over your points, the 2 accosters said. In your dreams. Jiao Qi yelled. His silver resonant power shimmered into view. Seeing him move, the 2 did not hesitate in their attack either. Hefting their swords, they shot towards him cat-quick in a pincer movement. A ruthless attack. But just as their attack was about to land, a gentle breeze rustled behind the 2. Their hairs prickled. To their horror, the cringing expression on Jiao Qi's face was gone, now replaced with a smug, mocking smile. Damn it, we've been had. They realized what was going on and started cursing themselves. They had been very careful in scouting the area. How had they not detected these 2? What sneaky behavior! A chill ran through them. They knew that they had walked into a trap. Focusing their resonant power, they attempted to take down the actor, Jiao Qi. At least with a hostage, they would have some bargaining power. Jiao Qi saw through them. But he neither hid nor backed down. Instead, a fierce look entered his eyes. His large axe twirled so fast, it made a wheel, and he charged the pair. Dang! The clash of steel sent sparks flying out. Jiang Qing'e grunted as he felt the jolt of the shock run through his body. These two were not weak at all. Naturally, came out of the clash in better shape. Still, before they could press his moment of weakness, the two blasts of resonant power caught up to them from behind. Hack! The two spat out mouthfuls of fresh blood and rolled on the floor like freshly plucked goods. When they tried to rise again, they found an azure blue short sword and a stiletto resting lightly on each of their necks. "Brother, one sudden move and there will be blood," a light voice sang from beside him. The two looked at each other bleakly. "Damn, you Southwind Academy students really play dirty. Fishing? Hey, if you didn't bite, we wouldn't have caught you." Li Luo laughed. He beckoned to Loulan and Jiang Qing'e to take off their crystal medallions. They cleaned out their points. When their crystal medallions' points drained to 0, an urgently flashing red light followed. And then a beam of light extended out to truss them up tightly. Clearly, they had been eliminated. The light's purpose was to bind them and prevent them from interfering with the competition. After taking their points, the trio did not even bother with parting words, immediately turning to leave. Their conversation drifted backwards. Not a bad haul. I wonder who the next unlucky bastard will be. Hope they're fatter than these two. But damn, Jiang Qing'e, you're a born actor. They followed so cautiously for half an hour, but still fell for it. Ha ha, it's nothing. Still some details to polish. I should have added a bit more fear when they appeared to catch me. I think that's more realistic. Your work ethic is admirable, sir. Hey, love the work you do, right? Well, yes. This video will end here.